Hey guys, Alex from BoardGameCo over here, and today we're doing another BoardGameCo stats video. It's been a while since I did one of these, but this is one of those videos where I pick some sort of interesting information from BoardGameCo, some sort of statistics, some sort of information, and then I let you know about that just because I find this stuff interesting. Hopefully you do as well. Now in this list we are doing the top 20 games that sold in 2019, not by the number of games that sold, but rather by the dollar amount. Now what I mean by that is at first I kind of picked the 20 most sold games in 2019, but then there were a lot of games that were very similar to the top 20 traded games of 2019. There's a lot of overlap on this list. So I figured to kind of filter for a lot of the common stuff, a lot of the more gateway games, I decided to filter by the dollar amount of what was sold, so that it kind of puts a more of a focus on the amount of money being spent on these games rather than the absolute number of copies being sold. Now I'm going to jump into this list pretty quickly because there's 20 of them, so I want to go pretty quickly. If you wait around to end this video, I will let you know which two of these I have not played. Only two of these 20 I have not actually played. The rest of them I have played between one and more than one times. So to begin with, number 20 on the list is Caverna the Cave Farmers. And Caverna the Cave Farmers makes me realize that it's actually 3 of these games that I haven't played, because Caverna I haven't played either, and I missed that one. Now Caverna the Cave Farmers is the follow-up to Uwe Rosenberg's Agricola, one of the most common games at one point, one of the most popular games on BoardGameGeek. At one point it was the #1 rated game on BoardGameGeek. It's no longer that, but it's still a well-respected, well-liked game, and Caverna was generally a well-received follow-up. Caverna is actually on my shelf, just out of view over there, and it's definitely a game I want to play. I have played Agricola, but I have not played Caverna. This is a heavy Euro optimization game, lots going on here, very overwhelming. I've started the rulebook a bunch of times, have not finished it. I need to do that. Number 19 on the list is Takenoko. Takenoko is this cute little game by Antoine Baza. It is a cute little growing bamboo game that you're ultimately trying to move your gardener and this panda around a garden, and you're growing shoots to meet these objectives, but you're also having the panda eat these shoots to meet other objectives. It's a very interesting game. It never really clicked with me personally, and when I got it, I was coming off of a high of Antoine Baza because I absolutely loved Seven Wonders, and I was super excited to play it. Didn't really resonate with me ever. I tried it a few times, and it just never really felt like a great strategy game. I don't know why. It just kind of felt like do this until the game is over. Number 18 on the list is Cosmic Encounter. Cosmic Encounter was at one point in my top 10 games of all time. Unfortunately, it is no longer in my collection, although I keep debating getting it back. It is a game that I thoroughly enjoyed the experience of the game, while not actually liking the game itself that much. I think the game is fairly flawed. It's all about negotiation and getting to other people's planets and establishing colonies, but ultimately the game kind of falls into these weird routines of allying with everyone and constantly offering to ally. There's these phases that feel baked in just to have the game, but at the end of the day, while I don't think the game itself is very good, I think the experience is tremendous. The experience is a story almost. Every single time you're like, oh, remember that time where you had this and I blew up my own planet to deny you the win, or remember that time that I negotiated with you at the very end so that I can come in and win the game. It's a great experience, and it's a game that I really think I want to get back. We'll see if I actually do at some point. Number 17 on the list is Mysterium. Mysterium is a game it's in this Dixit universe of bizarre artwork that they've turned into a game. There are a bunch of these by now. There's Muse, there's Obscurio is the newest one. They have Mysterium, they have Dixit. They have lots of these games that rely on bizarre artwork and then build a game around it, which I absolutely love. Mysterium is to me one of the more interesting ones. It's this one player is this ghost trying to tell the other players what happened. It's a game that I really enjoyed, but ultimately I just found it too hard to get to the table in my group. We only played it twice in the end, and no one in my group actually wanted to play it on a regular basis. And you need a lot of players too. So it's just too hard to get to the table, but I think it's a great game. I'd love to play it anytime. Number 16 on the list is Castles of Mad King von Ludwig. I don't even know if the Von's in there. Castle of Mad King Ludwig. Castle of Mad King Ludwig is the follow-up to Suburbia by Ted Alsbach of Bezier Games. It is a very fascinating you're building this castle. You're slowly drafting for tiles and then building this castle that meets these certain objectives. It's a very interesting game. I personally preferred Suburbia, but I believe Castle of Mad King Ludwig is generally well loved, so both great games. Number 15 on the list is Seven Wonders, which I already mentioned, by Antoine Baza. And again, if I'm butchering any of these names pronunciation, let me know in the comments down below. I've done it before, I'll do it again, don't worry. But Seven Wonders is a drafting game. It is the epitome of drafting games, to me at least. I know lots of people debate Sushi Go or other games. What's the face of drafting? To me, Seven Wonders is the face of drafting. It is the original drafting game that made drafting popular in board games, in my opinion. It is an absolutely incredible game, plays well between 3 players to 7 players, and it plays well in half an hour. You get your wonder board, you start drafting cards, you go through 3 ages, you score up your points, rinse, repeat, try out a few expansions. Great experience. Number 14 is Tokaido. Tokaido is this interesting game where you're moving along a path. You're going from the start of the path to the end of the path, like paths go, I guess. And along the way, you're trying to fulfill these things that will give you points to win the game. I played it once a long time ago, and it didn't really resonate with me at all. I felt more zen and peaceful than game-like, which might be a thing that people like, or maybe I just missed out on it. I don't know, but it's a game that has done well. It has come out with multiple collector's editions. It's generally a well-received game, and on the fact it's on this list means it's selling well as well. Number 13 on the list is Scythe. Scythe is by Jamie Stegmaier from Stonemaier Games. Jamie Stonemaier? I'm blanking on this, I'm sorry. But Scythe is one of the most popular games on BoardGameGeek. This is a game that has done tremendously well, and it sells well, and it's a great experience. I say that with a lot of asterisks because I played it 3 times and ultimately did not keep it. It's a game I would happily play again if someone wanted to, but it's not a game I felt the need to own. It's a game that relies more on the threat of warfare than the actual warfare, but I felt that the way the game played out, the way the player boards were set, the way the player powers were set, that there was an optimal strategy for each player depending on your starting faction, because each faction has slight variations to their bonuses that really push them in a predefined direction. And I ultimately enjoyed the experience. I mean, I played it 3 times, which I generally get rid of games that I don't like after 1 play, but it was an enjoyable experience, but not one that I felt the need to own in the end of the day. Number 12 on the list is Food Chain Magnate. Food Chain Magnate, if you've watched my videos, is one of my favorite games. It's a game that I thoroughly enjoy, and I find it's a splatter game, and there's so much going on in this game, and every single move you make matters intensely. It is absolutely one of my favorite games of all time. It's in my top 5 games, and every time I play it, I'm reminded by just how much I like it and why I should be playing it more than I do. 11 on this list is Ticket to Ride. This is the most gateway game on this list. It is a game that does incredibly well. I still do own a few copies. I used to own all the copies, just own all the expansions, all the everything. At the end of the day, though, while I enjoy the experience and while it's a great family and gateway game, at the end of the day, it wasn't one that I felt the need to own everything because I wasn't playing it enough. It's a good game. It's a fun experience. It's a great upgrade to games like Monopoly in terms of if you're trying to bring people into the hobby, but it's also not the best game ever. It's a lightweight family game that you should enjoy, and it is enjoyable. Number 10 on this list is Betrayal at the House on the Hill, which is a game that I have not played, so I don't have that much to say about it. Ultimately, I know that there's you're moving around into this house and doing stuff, and then eventually someone betrays other people and tries to get out. If I'm saying that wrong, forgive me, I have not actually played this game. It's a game I should be playing eventually, especially because they have a legacy version, and I love legacy games. But it is a very popular game. It's been around for quite some time, being reprinted a few times, and generally has just done fairly well. Number 9 on this list is Mansions of Madness 2nd Edition. Mansions of Madness itself is already a popular game, and 2nd Edition is much more popular. This game is loved by many people. The 2nd Edition added an app and did it so well that people really enjoy this game. You're an investigator, you move into the house, the map and the app tells you what to do and how to set things up and what to interact with. I sadly did not enjoy it because I've had so far not much luck in enjoying app-based games, but this is a well-rated game and loved by many. Number 8 is Mage Knight board game. Mage Knight the board game. Mage Knight is a great game, actually right behind me over here. That's not planned. Mage Knight is one of my favorite solo experiences. It plays well with 1 or 2 players. I don't recommend it with 3. It's just too much of a slog. Even 2 slows the game down drastically. But if you don't want to play a solo game, it does play well with two. It is an incredible character building experience. The only critique I have of it is that it is too long. It makes it very hard to get to the table with even potentially two, but for sure not more than two. It's just a long game. And it's not built as a game that you can play in segments. You kind of have to set it up and then hope you can eventually finish it, or just pack it up and say that was fun, well, we didn't finish. But it is a great leveling up RPG experience going on there. Number 7 on this list is Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. Now, Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, Betrayal, House on the Hill, and Caverna are the 3 games I have not played on this list. Sherlock Holmes is a game that it's one of these mystery games, one of those, like, it's almost like an escape room before the escape room games were popular. But it is a game that you have this book, you have this mystery, and you're trying to figure it out either solo or cooperatively with other players. You're trying to figure out what happened, what was the mystery. I have held off on playing this one primarily because I've heard that it can be so hard that you're like, I would have never thought of that. And I don't really enjoy that experience. I don't enjoy escape room games where there's an element of nobody would have gotten that. Whenever I play the Unlock series, every once in a while there's a puzzle where I'm presented with something that I just don't think was feasible for anyone to get, and those don't interest me. Those turn me off a bit. I want something where whether I get it or I don't, when you show it to me, I'm like, that makes sense. I should have gotten that. So that's why I've held off on playing it. That being said, I will probably get a bunch of comments down below telling me how it's not that way and those people are wrong and I should totally play it. But please, in all seriousness, if you think that, let me know. I don't mind having the push to play the game. Number 6 on the list is Root. Root came out of nowhere a year and a half ago, whatever it was. This game just took the gaming world by storm. It was super popular. It was sold out left, right, and center. You couldn't get your hands on it. Root is an asymmetric game, but there's a lot of asymmetric games out there. Root is possibly the highest rated asymmetric game out there. Each faction plays completely differently, and all the expansions add more factions that play completely differently again, and they completely mix up the game. It is a game that I played it 4 or 5 times, thoroughly enjoyed it, but realized it wasn't going to hit the table enough, and it was too much to constantly teach and bring new players into the loop, that it was a hard game. It wasn't the right fit for my collection. It's one of those games that I mentally have clocked in. If I retire and suddenly start playing more games, all of a sudden maybe I'll get it back. For right now, Root was an amazing game, an amazing experience that I don't think we're playing enough to justify keeping. It's a game that I don't think it's a game you should own if you're playing it once a year or twice a year. I think it's a game you should be playing at least once a month if you're going to own it. There's so much going on in that game. Number 5 on the list is Eclipse. Eclipse is a granddaddy of 4X games. It's been around for quite some time, and they just came out with a reprint Kickstarter, Eclipse Second Dawn for the Galaxy or whatnot. But Eclipse is an incredibly sought after game. This game has been around for, I'm starting to repeat myself at this point, but it's been around for quite some time, and it's well liked by a lot of people. I played it once, and I do want to try Eclipse Second Dawn for the Galaxy at some point. But Eclipse itself, I played it once, and I was a little turned off by the fact that there's so much planning and so much strategy, but then there's like a dice roll that would completely screw up your entire battle plans. A single bad die roll could ruin your entire 5-hour experience. I don't mind dice, to be clear, but I prefer that when there are dice, that there's lots of dice rolling, so that you don't get 1 or 2 small inconsistencies that can throw off your whole game. I want it to be either bury me in the aggregate dice rolls, or don't give me any. Don't give me a handful of super important dice rolls that change the whole game. That was my opinion, but there's only one play, so who really knows? Number 4 on this list is Robinson Crusoe Adventure on the Cursed Island, and I really did a terrible job counting, because that's number 4 on this list that I actually have not played. That's the 4th one and last one on this list that I have not played. It is right behind me over here. I've read the rulebook a few times. I'm all prepped to play it. I just haven't actually gotten to the table yet. So I think of myself having played it, but I have not played it. Robinson Crusoe is an incredible solo experience. It's an incredible cooperative experience. You're stuck on an island and you're going through these puzzles of trying to survive. It's a great game by all accounts of all the ratings and stuff, but I haven't actually played it myself. Number 3 on this list is Android Netrunner. Android Netrunner, wow, that's a game that I have not played in a long time, but I played that when it first came out, when I was first getting into gaming in 2013, 2012, and it was a very fascinating 2-player experience. It's another asymmetric game. It's one where both players play completely differently depending on whether you're playing as the corporations or the runners. It was a very fascinating experience, but like my review of many LCGs, it wasn't enough to pull me into the world of LCGs, the world of collecting and trying to just have all the decks and so you can build your stuff. But it was a very interesting and very memorable experience for me. Number 2 on this list is Twilight Struggle. Twilight Struggle was the #1 rated game on BoardGameGeek for a long time before it got eventually kicked out by Pandemic Legacy and then Gloomhaven after that. Twilight Struggle is a 2-player asymmetric, there we go, that word again, which I guess technically means Twilight Struggle might be the highest asymmetric rated game, but Root has 4 players compared to 2, which is a whole different ballpark. 2-player asymmetric games are actually far more common than multiplayer asymmetrical games. Anyway, that little tangent aside, Twilight Struggle was an incredible game, emulating the Cold War. It's a card-based system where you have these cards that are events, but you can also use them for their number. It was a great game. It really was, but ultimately for me, I got rid of it a long time ago because it was too long for what it was. I played it a lot. I played it 5-6 times. Well, a lot's relative, but I played it like 5-6 times, which is a lot considering how long the game is. But at the end of the day, it wasn't a game that I wanted to pull out the more I got into other games. For me, it's actually been most recently replaced by Watergate. I think Watergate does a much better job than Twilight Struggle. It's the same system, but it's drilled down and condensed, and it's only half hour long. And I think Watergate is a great game that you should totally try. Number 1 on this list. This is the #1 rated, not #1 rated. This is the highest selling board game from BoardGameCo in 2019, and yes, it is also the #1 rated game on BoardGameGeek. This is Gloomhaven. Gloomhaven, perhaps not a surprise given how expensive the game is to begin with. You could actually sell, you know, a third the amount of copies of Gloomhaven compared to Ticket to Ride, and it would still end up being more in sales. But Gloomhaven is the #1 rated game on BoardGameGeek. This is the not really legacy, but it can be legacy. Well, I'm not gonna get into that little can of worms, but it's a game that you're leveling up your characters and you can upgrade your cards and you can upgrade these things, but you're doing that not over like 10 games, you're doing that over like 60 to 100 games, that you are playing game after game after game, and you go through it and you get the gold and you get the experience points and you upgrade and you play it again, and you have this hand of cards that are simultaneously your life points and your ability to do things. It is an incredible experience. Right now, actually, there's a Kickstarter for Frosthaven. The sequel to Gloomhaven is currently on Kickstarter, and it just raised $6 million and still has 20 days to go. So this is a system that is loved by many, and that clearly shows with how much money is being thrown at this game and this system. That's basically it. This is the video. That's you know, my top 20 highest selling games of from BoardGameCo in 2019. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know if there are any surprises. For me, there were actually very few surprises because I see these games coming through every day when I, you know, run the sales numbers or see what's going on. So most of these games are games that I know sell well. Very few surprises and on this list for me personally. But let me know down in the comments down below, which one of these surprised you the most? Which one of these was the most interesting to you that it sold well? Why are these games here? Where's Pandemic Legacy? Why is that game not selling well? I don't know. I mean, actually I do know, by the way. Pandemic Legacy probably sells less well for BoardGameCo specifically because we deal heavily in used games. So we have used games and new games on our site, but a big part of our stock is trading and used games, and that almost inherently means that we're going to see less copies of Pandemic Legacy sold because you can't sell Pandemic Legacy. You can sell it, but nobody wants a used legacy game. So contrast that with Twilight Struggle, where people will buy used copies all the time. A legacy game like Pandemic Legacy is going to come through our hands less and therefore be sold less. So that's actually why that's not there. In any case, hope you enjoyed. You can subscribe down below, ring the bell for notifications. You can like this video. Let me know your thoughts, opinions, comments, all that stuff. If you have anything else you want to see, if you have any topics, opinions, or other statistics in BoardGameCo, just let me know. I'm always happy to put out something because I just like board games and like talking about board games. Until next time, I'm Alex. Have a good one.